if you've got an industry, particularly in a competitor sector, then it may be better that it's in the private sector. Alternatively, with something like the National Health Service, of course, we wouldn't want to see that happen. So yesterday, I think, and it was actually, again, John that coined the phrase in relation to the railways. It's the public interest that counts. And the best way to meet the public interest, for example, in rail, I think you could do private partnerships perfectly easily. You know, there's no harm in getting private finance in. In fact, the private finance initiative of the government was really, you know, born out of the work that John did on for the Labour Party a few years ago. You will find in a cabinet document on the post office, for example, something called the Prescott option. You know, which they actually
many votes.
Well, they didn't get many votes in that cabinet. But you know, which was about how you introduce greater commercial freedom for the post office. You know, I just think today we can move beyond some of the old polarities. I mean, we don't need to be afraid of it. And you know, what I was saying yesterday was simply, look, for the public, you know, what matters is that their interests are taken account of. And sometimes you're going to mix of public and private. Fine. Let's do it in the best way for the country. You know, not saying you've had 20 years of a government that wants to privatise anything that moves. Now 20 years of another government that's going to do the opposite. You know, so I hope that's understood by people. But in principle, yes, we are committed to that, and indeed we've made that commitment clear. And you know, I think that this is not simply for the building industry as such. It is to make better use of money that is there and available. Finally, the question on, you know, the Labour monstrous force that's going to take the Labour Party over. You know, the Tories, I mean, they've never been quite sure on how to attack us, frankly. I mean, for a time it was sort of new Labour, new dangers. Now apparently they're attacking us for selling out everything. So they get their message a bit wrong. But in the end, the reason why they've had this difficulty is they've not been able to understand that the vast majority of people in this country have been crying out for a sensible, serious alternative to the Conservatives for a long period of time. I mean, the difference is today they've got one. And, you know, what I would say to you is that, yes, of course, not everybody in the Labour Party, you know, is agreed with the process. People very rarely do. But you spoke of the team, and you're right. And John and I, in a sense, as I was saying earlier, represent those two traditions. And, I mean, I can tell you this, I could not have had better or more loyal support from anyone than I've had from John Prescott, you know, all the way through. And it's not as if he's afraid of speaking his mind, as you know. And, you know, so there is a good team there. And the reason for this has been, you know, if you look at the way that the Labour Party has developed, over the past 3 years, we've literally doubled the membership of the Labour Party that we have made. Are changes that I would say to you come from principle. You know, they're not, I mean, yes, of course, we have become more electorally viable as a result of the changes we've made. I mean, it would be foolish. I mean, you know, we have finally, you know, the pristine, purest form of British government has now come to pass in 1997 under John Major and his cohorts. I mean, nobody else can quite do it, you know. So when you see the person going to negotiate for us on BSE, Douglas Hollis, you know, we can make better schools, better hospitals. We can rebuild this as a decent one society. You know, we can give our young people the hope and opportunity of the future. We can make sure that in our industry, you know, we're really competing on the basis of the best in the world. We can have a situation. And 18 years of one-party government, that's a long time. But that's not simply the reason for change. The reason groups and small committees, but became a genuine party of the people. And the trust that we ask for in this election, set out in of a sound opposition, but as a party of government that can govern this country, can make it great again, can give its people real hope, and restore its faith in a political system that has left so many people alienated and disaffected. I think that that can be done in this election. I really do believe that. And I simply want you to understand this, that myself and John and every single member of the team, we are committed to making these changes for you. And we can't promise you everything. I know some of you will think, oh, you know, I would like to have heard more on this, and I wish you'd given us more on that. And I want more money for this and the next thing, of course, and I understand that. But I tell you, we can make a start. A new beginning is what this country wants.